Have you ever noticed how complicated forgiveness can feel? Many people believe deeply in forgiveness. They believe in grace. They believe mercy matters. And yet, when the moment actually comes to forgive someone who hurt them, something inside still hesitates. Part of the heart wants peace, but another part is still holding the memory of the wound. Have you ever felt that tension? Forgiveness would bring relief. Carrying resentment is exhausting. And yet, the moment you think about what happened, the feeling returns. Why does forgiveness feel so difficult, even for people who sincerely want to forgive? Part of the answer lies in how the human mind protects itself. When someone hurts us, the brain does not only remember the event, it remembers the emotional impact of that moment, the disappointment, the betrayal, the shock of being treated in a way you did not expect. Because of that, the mind tries to protect the heart from feeling that pain again. It studies what happened. It replays the situation. It analyzes every detail, hoping that by understanding the past more clearly, it can prevent the same pain in the future. This is why the memory of hurt often stays active for so long. The brain believes that remembering the wound is a form of protection. If it keeps the story close, maybe it can keep you safe. If it keeps replaying the event, maybe it can stop you from being hurt in the same way again. But this protection can quietly become a prison. Because the more we replay the story, the more emotionally present it becomes. The body tightens, the mind sharpens, old feelings return, and the past begins to live inside the present. Have you noticed that? The event may be over, but your nervous system still reacts as if part of it is happening again. That is one reason forgiveness takes time. Forgiveness is not only a decision of the mind, it is also a process that involves the body, memory, emotion, and trust. And many people misunderstand what forgiveness really means. They think forgiveness means saying the pain was not real. They think it means pretending nothing happened. They think it means letting the other person off the hook. They think it means trusting too quickly or removing every boundary. But that is not forgiveness. Forgiveness is not denial. Forgiveness is not pretending. Forgiveness is not immediate trust. Forgiveness is not permission for repeated harm. Real forgiveness is quieter than that. It is the slow decision to stop carrying resentment as a daily burden. It is the refusal to let the wound become the center of your inner life. It is the willingness to release the need to relive the story every day. That does not happen all at once. And that is important to remember. Many people feel guilty because they cannot forgive instantly. They think their struggle means they are failing spiritually. They think if they were more mature, more prayerful, or more faithful, they would simply let go. But healing is rarely that fast. Sometimes forgiveness begins with honesty, not with pretending you are already at peace, but with admitting the truth. This hurt me. This changed something in me. This still affects the way I feel. That kind of honesty is not weakness. It is the beginning of real healing. So before we talk about release, ask yourself something gently. What part of this story still feels unfinished inside me? Is it the lack of apology? The lack of understanding? The loss of trust? The fear that it could happen again? Sometimes forgiveness becomes possible only after we stop forcing ourselves to skip over the real pain. Take a slow breath in for 4 seconds. Hold it gently. Now exhale slowly for 6 again. Inhale, hold, exhale. Sometimes the heart cannot release something until the body feels safe enough to loosen its grip. And that small moment of safety is often where forgiveness quietly begins. There is another reason forgiveness can feel so hard. Forgiveness does not only challenge memory, it also challenges our sense of justice. When someone hurts us, something inside wants balance. It wants the wrong to be acknowledged. It wants the pain to be seen. It wants fairness. It wants the other person to understand what their actions cost us. And when that recognition never comes, the mind often keeps holding on to the wound as proof that what happened mattered. Have you ever noticed that? Sometimes resentment is not only anger, sometimes it is evidence, a way of saying, this was real, this was painful, this changed something in me. That is why letting go can feel frightening. Part of the heart worries that if it stops carrying the pain, then the pain will be dismissed, as if release means the story no longer counts. But that is not true. Forgiveness does not erase truth. It does not cancel reality. It does not rewrite history. Forgiveness simply refuses to let the past govern the emotional atmosphere of the present. And that is very different, because resentment has a cost. At first, it can feel powerful. It can feel protective. It can make us feel alert, guarded, and prepared. But over time, resentment becomes heavy. It follows us into ordinary moments, into new relationships, into prayer, into sleep, into silence, into the body. It can shape the way we expect people to behave. It can harden the heart. It can make tenderness feel unsafe. It can make peace feel distant. And the strange thing is that the person most burdened by resentment is often the one carrying it. That is why forgiveness is not only about the other person, it is also about your own freedom. Faith brings something deeply important here. Throughout the teachings of Christ, forgiveness is not presented as weakness. It is presented as release. Not because the wound was small, but because the human heart was never meant to live under the permanent weight of injury. Forgiveness does not say the wound was acceptable. It says the wound will not become my master. Forgiveness does not say trust must instantly return. It says I refuse to let this pain keep ruling my inner world. That means forgiveness can exist with wisdom. It can exist with distance. It can exist with boundaries. It can exist with honesty. Sometimes the healthiest forgiveness still says, I release resentment, but I also recognize what is no longer safe. That is not hypocrisy. That is maturity. So ask yourself another question. What am I afraid forgiveness will take away from me? Will it take away my protection? Will it take away my moral clarity? Will it take away the proof that I was hurt? Or could it actually return something to me? Something I have been losing while carrying this for too long: energy, calm, clarity, space in the heart. Take another slow breath in for 4 seconds. Hold it gently. Now exhale for 6. As you breathe, notice what your body does when you imagine loosening your grip on the story just a little. Not denying it, not excusing it, just loosening the grip. Does the body resist? Does it tighten? Does it become afraid? That is useful information. Sometimes forgiveness begins there, with awareness of resistance rather than immediate success. You do not have to force yourself into peace. You can move toward it honestly. And that honesty matters, because real forgiveness is rarely dramatic. It's often quiet, a gradual release, a decision repeated many times, a willingness to stop feeding the same wound every day. If this reflection touches something tender in you, remember this: forgiveness is not forgetting the past. It is choosing that the past will not imprison your heart. It is trusting that truth can still matter, even when resentment begins to loosen. It is trusting that justice and grace are not enemies. It is trusting that God can hold what you no longer need to carry alone. And sometimes that quiet release becomes the beginning of the deepest freedom a person can experience. If this reflection spoke to something inside you, remember this: you are not alone in what you carry. Many people walk through life quietly holding more than others can see: pressure, responsibility, expectations. But faith was never meant to make life heavier. Faith was meant to remind you that you do not have to carry everything alone. So take a slow breath, allow your mind to rest for a moment, and remember that peace does not begin when life becomes perfect. Peace begins when the heart learns to trust. If this message helped you today, subscribe to this channel for more reflections on emotional clarity through faith. And if you feel comfortable, share in the comments what this season of your life has been teaching you. Sometimes the most powerful step toward healing is simply knowing you are not walking alone.